What was your biggest letdown in your years of reviewing jet skis? I can work my way down if you'd like. Number one was the Explorer Pro. That the Explorer Pro was so offensive to what got me into jet skiing. It was so it was such an anathema to what makes jet skiing fun that it literally made me rethink my career. It literally made me go, why am I doing this if this is the future? And it, quite frankly, made me look at the readership of the magazine and the viewership of this channel who liked the Explorer Pro with derision. And that's going to come off incredibly harsh, and that's going to come off incredibly judgmental. But I've given so many reasons why. And the reasons being is that the joy of jet skiing, the joy of this activity is motorized excitement, which always is great, and then being in the environment itself, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's windy, whether it's still, whether the water is glass, whether it's rough. The best stories I've got to share are the ones where I suffered the most and where I was subject to the environment. And the Explorer Pro completely and totally removes you from that environment. It removes you from any sort of interaction with your environment. And after spending like 2 days on this thing, I'm like, I didn't enjoy myself. I literally did not enjoy this. I don't recall smiling. I don't recall any. The thing. I mean, obviously, I was looking around. We went into St. Augustine. St. Augustine's beautiful. I love U.S. history, and so American history is a favorite topic of mine. So I was able to do that, and I was able to remove myself. But the actual process of riding this machine was so muted and insulated that I had a crisis on the ski. Next to that, the biggest letdown was the reveal of the 310R, the Kawasaki 310R back in 2014. That was such a missed opportunity. That was such a missed opportunity that I think I strained my relationship with Kawasaki because I was so vocal about it. And that, in looking at what that ski could have been. And then I got some bad news for you guys. Kawasaki does not currently, at this moment, feel the urgency to respond to the 325 engines from CD. They are like, nah, okay, that's fine. And I was actually talking with Greg Gaddis today. We were texting back and forth. I was grabbing stuff and I was preparing everything for this big weekend that we have for the car magazine and that I have the car magazine. And we were texting back and forth. And I said, yeah, apparently Cowie is not terribly hot to trot to try to compete with the RXTX or RXPX. And he says, oh, well, I understand that. And I said, I don't. I said, this is their opportunity to strike. Kawasaki has nothing to lose and everything to gain. quite frankly, if they said, okay, fine, we're going to go tete-a-tete. All right, we're going to go 330 and we're going to up our acceleration time. Okay, great. How do you do that? Well, more horsepower does not mean more top speed. What it means is acceleration, and that's what they're gearing these machines for. Everyone who sits there and goes, that's so stupid of Sea-Doo to make 325 horse. They're not looking for top speed, although they know what's going to happen with the aftermarket. They are appealing to the aftermarket. But in order to keep everyone else happy, they are positioning the RX-PX as being the fastest accelerating personal watercraft on the market. Right now, it's what, 3.5 seconds to 60? I think it's 3.5 or 3.4. Let me say, I have a stock RX-PX 300, 3.6. Stock RX-PX 325, 3.4. Okay. So it's, 3.4. Okay. And of course, Chad pops up. He already has it memorized. Yeah, Paul, I've seen his channel, and he's a nice guy. He's a fan of the channel. I don't hate him. He's a big fan of them. He absolutely thinks they're the best thing, and that's fine. And I know, but the problem is that I'm not good at it yet. I should say it this way. I am not good at putting myself in someone else's shoes who is so far removed from my ability to make decisions. And it's not Adam Swords. Yeah, Adam loves his Explorer Pro, don't get me wrong, but there is another fella, and he's a nice guy. He's an older gentleman, and he and his wife ride him, and they're tickled with him, and I'm glad he loves them. I'm glad he loves them. I want him. I would hope he enjoyed his purchase, but it is so antithetical to everything that motivates me in regards to this industry, in regards to this sport. Kevin, I literally have the email sliding across the screen continually for the last half an hour. It's literally info@watercraftjournal.com. Don't know what to tell you, brother. Yeah, don't know what to tell you. It's been literally cycling this entire time. So, yeah. That is... Kevin's got you. It's the banner, dude. So, yeah. So Explorer Pro, the R, the 310R. The 310R has all the potential of being something exclusive, being a truly race-ready machine. And they gave us green sponsons, a different seat, and an aluminized handlebar. And it was such a middling effort that it just made me sad. I mean, hopefully the new R comes automatically in sport mode. Hopefully it does. It has better launch control. It has, cavitation control. It has everything. Kawasaki has the software to do it. It doesn't require hard parts. They could do it. They could call Riva, they could call Tim Bushman and put a ride plate on it. And they could pick up some mile an hour. But there isn't. 2024 has already been revealed. That's what it is. So, anyway, that has been that's let's see, that was 2014. Oh, I got a good one. 2009, or it was 2008 when I got it, but 2009 model was the Honda F15x GPS Scape. the GPS on the Honda itself was fantastic. The hull itself was great. Ergonomically, great. As long as you were sitting down. Standing up, the handlebars were too far low, but that was okay. Unless you were short. If you were short, it was great. Oh, it was awesome. But if you were tall and trying to stand up all right in the Honda F15, you were a hunchback. You were laying over. But the GPS Scape, which had a beautiful paint job, black with this candy apple red, the GPS dashboard was a GPS compass. It was the most agonizing thing to try to program. It was awful. I put my fist through the dashboard. I lied and said I fell off and hit it with my elbow, but I put my fist into the dashboard and broke it. I hated it so much. It's past statute of limitations. It's been 16 years. John Seidel doesn't work there anymore. Oh, well. But yeah, I put my fist into the dashboard. I hated it so much. And I remembered that when it came time to messing with the BRP Go app. BRP Go app isn't as bad as the GPS Scape Dash, but it's pretty damn close. And I've been pretty vocal about that too.
Hey guys, thanks for hanging out. This clip was taken from our weekly podcast that we record here every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to watch the whole video, you can go to the Watercraft Journal's YouTube channel, go to playlists, and then click on live sessions. You're going to see it there. Otherwise, go ahead and leave a like, a comment, and definitely subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow. And again, thanks again for watching our videos, and we hope to see you soon.